When the first generation Audi TT first bursted onto the scene back in 1998, it won the hearts of many with its iconic styling and balanced handling. Is this car a bit of a used car bargain today in 2024? I'm Daniel Acthouse and you're watching Daniel Drives. So I'm here today on a very quiet day here at Bicester Heritage. It's weird because the other times I've been here, it's been for the Scramble event and it's been absolutely heaving, people walking around everywhere, and it can make it very difficult to film. But today it's almost completely deserted and I'm here obviously with the Panda, made it here in one piece after the 2,000-mile road trip last week. And this gorgeous Audi TT, obviously on Dutch plates, which you might notice. So this car is owned by a very nice man called Juan, and he is Argentinian, he lives in Holland, and he's a digital illustrator. His work is incredible. I'm sure you'll get to see it later on in the video. We might even be able to chat to him. But yeah, very grateful that he's allowed me to crawl around his car and review it, because I remember when first moved back to the UK after living in France, one of the first houses we lived in, our next door neighbour had a Mk1 TT in this very colour. And I remember thinking, what a lovely little car. And today, 10-15 years on, I'm getting to look around one properly. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity because these cars have really dropped in value. And in this video, I'm going to answer whether you, the viewers, should go for one of these cars or maybe go for one of the alternatives. Obviously a rival for the likes of the Porsche Boxster and BMW Z3, but you can't beat the four rings. It's iconic. And you know, this car's been around now for 25 years, nearly 26 years, which is quite scary to say because I look at these cars and I guess they're probably 10-15 years old, but they've aged so well. So yeah, let's talk a bit about the design. So for me, this era of Audi design really was the best. Obviously at the time in the early noughties and the late 90s, they were making the A2, a car that I've had a lot of experience with because my very good friend Matthew had one. And Matthew's dad also had an A4 of this generation as well, A4 Avant. Obviously this being the TT, you're kind of getting the perfect balance, aren't you really? Because you're getting that sporty design with, you know, the Audi design combined together, and it looks so brilliant. This one in particular looks, you know, even more special because it doesn't feature the rear spoiler that you tend to see on the Mk1 TT. Now, I think it really adds something. It's weird, removing something adds something to the design. It just looks so much more sleek, more, you know, coupe-esque, and I'm a big fan of it. The side profile of the first generation TT, for me, is the most special part of the car. It's just so sleek and it flows nicely, and you can tell that, you know, Audi spent a lot of time and effort designing this car. You know, we live in a time now where car design, especially by Audi and a lot of the Germans, is very aggressive. And yeah, it kind of doesn't look right. The cars look cool and whatever, but you don't look at it and go, that is a pretty car. You look at the original TT and you do. This is undoubtedly a very pretty car. And probably the reason a lot of people would buy one of these cars because it's just a pleasant looking car. And it drives nicely. It's just a very good package. And for a grand tourer, if it's one person or two people, this really has got to be one of the best options around. So climbing aboard Mk1 TT is a really pleasurable thing to do, which sounds weird, but you know, what an interior cabin this is. Again, you know, over 2 decades old now, but it's aged so well. Lovely leather seats, which have been really looked after. Leather steering wheel. Absolutely no buttons on the steering wheel as well. And that's one thing Audi really wanted to focus on was, you know, it just being the driver and the machine. You've got very basic 5 big buttons in front of you for like the essentials. Hazards, heated seats. And one thing I noticed about the heated seats when I was reading up about this car is just the amount of different settings. You click the button, it pops out, and you've got loads and loads of heated seat preset modes, which is, I can't help but think is a little bit excessive, but I like that they've done it. It's very German. But everything just, you know, falls to hand so well. Everything from the gear shift, you know, the handbrake, steering wheel, everything just, you know, falls to hand so nicely. and it's such high quality as well. You probably think these air vent surrounds and everything are made of plastic, but they're not. They're actually fully aluminium. A lot of stuff on this car is aluminium to save weight, but also to add a more premium feel to the car. I actually believe the bonnet is made out of aluminium, but yeah, most of the other panels are steel panels, just normal. You've got a nice little cover here, again aluminium, for the radio. So you pop that, it says TT quite nicely, and it reveals the OEM radio. It's lovely to see, with the cassette player as well, Audi Concert. And these systems are actually surprisingly good. This specific example has got Bose speakers as well. And I know from the past, from again, Matthew's dad's A4 Avant, the Audi Concert system linked to the Bose speakers sounds phenomenal. It sounds really, really good. And in a car like this, when you're probably going to be doing a lot of grand touring, a lot of big miles, that's exactly what you want. And when you're someone like me and you like music like Genesis and stuff, you really want a good, hi-fi system. So yeah, this car interior-wise is really, really surprising. You've got a nice little shelf down here as well to store some little items, whether it's your mobile phone, map or whatever. But another notable thing, which is something the likes of the Z3 doesn't have, its rival, is 2 back seats. It's a 2+2 seater. Now, really that's only for kids, very young kids. But it means if you're a car-obsessed father and you have children, you can keep your special car for a little while longer. But yeah, me as a 6'2" person, I wouldn't like to spend much time in the back. But yeah, in the front, in the driver's seat, is where this car is best. So it's the return of, what holds this channel together, the only bit of professionalism on Daniel Drives, because it's the return of the Daniel Drives book of notes. And in here I've got some specs for this car and stuff, performance-wise and price when it was new and other stuff like that. So if you're interested in figures, this section is for you. So obviously it's a 1.8 litre, 20-valve turbocharged engine, which is pretty special. There were bigger engine options available, we'll go into that later. So this particular engine is 225 brake horsepower and also 280 Newton meters of torque, which I think is kind of the sweet spot. There's 0 to 60, which I think is pretty irrelevant really, 0 to 60, but it does it in 6.4 seconds. Maxes out at 151 miles per hour. And yeah, the weight is an interesting thing because these cars weigh 1,465 kilograms. Now, you hear that, and for a 2+2 seater sports car, it does sound quite heavy, especially when you compare it against its rivals. But that is all thanks to the Quattro system, the all-wheel drive system, adding the weight. And it's the Quattro system that really makes it feel balanced around the corners, even though really the rear drive only kicks in when it gets a bit perilous. But yeah, I don't think the weight is such a major issue, to be honest, in these cars. These cars cost £27,775, which kind of surprised me a bit in the old car market. There's quite a bit actually, but I suppose for one of the most premium sporty Audis in the range back in the late 90s, I suppose it's pretty reasonable. The insurance group is 35, so if you're a young driver like me and you like these cars, you might need to wait a few years before getting insured on one. 6-speed manual gearbox, which is lovely. It was released in 1998 and production ran until 2006, which was a year after I was born. There you go, that makes me feel really young. Yeah, so the way to determine the the engines and the specifications for these cars, little fun facts, and I read this up last night and I found it really interesting, is if the car has a single exhaust at the back, it's the 180 horsepower model. But if it's got double exhausts, like this car has, it's the 225 horsepower version. So there you go, there's a bit of Audi nerdy trivia for you if you're interested. And yeah, it also came with a 3.2 litre V6 engine, which was the bigger engine I was talking about. And it doesn't have that punchiness as this one does with the turbo, but you do get that sound, and it's a pretty nice sound from that V6, but not very not very economical, let's be honest. So online, it says you can expect about 30 mpg from these cars. Might be true, might not be, I don't know. But it's not what this car's about. But it does have a 62 litre fuel tank, which again, for road tripping like this car has been doing the past few days. It's also going to Goodwood this weekend, Goodwood Festival of Speed. I'm very jealous. 62 litre fuel tank is pretty good. Obviously I drive a car with a 32 litre fuel tank, so it almost feels like I'm living at the fuel station. But this is quite a lot better. If you're doing long miles, you don't have to be staring at the fuel needle. So there you go, there's some specs, the return of the Daniel Dry's book of notes, you know, talking about a car that I like very much. So we're on the move now in the TT, and Juan's just been showing me the turbo noise, which apparently is quite addictive. And I didn't realise actually how noticeable that would be. You definitely notice the turbo, and it's nice to have it because the car just really picks up and, you know, feels more alive. So tell me briefly, what's the ownership experience been like with this car? Well, the sat-nav interruption. We'll just continue. It's how Daniel Dry's operates.
Yeah. I just turned down the very Spanish person speaking. Yeah, the ownership experience. Well, to put a little bit of context, we are a 2 adults household.
Yeah.
So it's just me and my wife.
Yes.
So we don't really need something very roomy.
Yeah.
And this fits basically in a perfect way for the amount of use we get of the car in the current state of things. And I really didn't want to buy something that I didn't love.
Yes.
And this is a car that I think looks fantastic.
Yeah, it really does.
And it just, I think the value that you get when you get one of these, if it's well maintained, this had a full service history and I bought it from a friend.
Yeah. Gives you that peace of mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you keep it that way, I think it's honestly a very good thing to have. Yeah. Of course, it has things from its age. This specific unit will turn 25 years old next month.
Wow, I can't believe that, how fast that time's gone.
Yeah.
And just how well the car's aged as well.
Exactly. It's almost like you can get something like this and not feel old at all.
Yeah.
Except for obviously the modern comforts that you had with the modern cars.
Got the right hand lane here.
But yeah, I think it's a really good thing to have.
Yeah.
And very enjoyable. The drive is fantastic. The gearbox is short and sweet. Yeah. I think it's a pretty good all-around car, and you can even get a good amount of usage in terms of practicality if you plan enough, if you're smart enough. Yeah. The 2 back seats fold down completely. Yeah. So you kind of get a little bit of a tiny truck kind of space. So
that's one thing this car has over its rivals is, you know, kind of the practicality. You can have, you know, kids in the back or whatever, and if you fold the seats down completely, you have got space for, you know, luggage and stuff.
Yeah, I think the only thing that sometimes can catch you off guard is that since the boot is hatchback, it goes really low at the end. So when you think you have a lot of height space, you don't really have. No. But other than that, I think you can manage pretty well with it. Yeah.
So obviously you're an illustrator. What is your professional name? What would you call yourself?
My professional name, I don't have any. No, I do digital illustrations. So that's basically it. I do vector art. Yeah. And I do really enjoy representing or highlighting specific moments in motorsports history or specific car designs with features that I really love. Yeah. So that's basically my go-to these days. Yeah. But to be honest, it's kind of whatever I feel inspired by. Yeah. Sometimes it's race cars, sometimes it's a regular old car or something that people don't really care much about, and then I just do it. And that's the best thing about doing things for myself. Yeah. Is that I can do whatever I feel like.
Very flexible.
Yeah, and currently I'm actually creating an illustration course to actually teach people to do the things that I'm currently doing. Yeah. I've been doing this for over 6 years now.
Yeah,
As a hobby, as a side thing, so nothing really very professional or serious. But if I can say so myself, I think I've gotten pretty good in the past few years.
You definitely have. It is a skill. You know, I follow your work on Twitter and everything, and
I think
what you do is amazing. And you gifted me one of your digital illustrations of the one of the panda as well.
You can show it later.
I'll put a picture on screen now.
Yeah, it's one of a series that I haven't been updating for at least 2 or 3 years now. This was a nice little comeback. So I'm currently preparing this course, and I will release it hopefully soon. And I would really love to teach people to do the things that I learned through 5 or 6 years, and allow people to do it in 30 days or something like that. So that's the main idea.
Well, I'm going to leave your website down in the description and your social media. Viewers, check out some of the artwork and the illustrations, because they are amazing. And I think what you do is really good. So
thank you very much.
Keep it up and don't give up. Keep doing it. And what a lovely car you have.
Nice, thank you.
So there you go then, the first generation Audi TT. A car that I'm really glad to have had on the channel, to be honest, because I kind of think not after the Panda necessarily, but in the years to come, as well as the Panda hopefully, I'd love to go down the two-seater sports car route, whether that is a Z3, a Boxster, or a TT. So it's good to have a proper look around one of these cars for my own benefit, to see whether I would like to have one in the years to come. And having looked around one and crawled around it and stuff, I honestly think this would be a lovely car to own, and perfect for doing road trips and stuff, which after last week is something I really want to do more of. So I really enjoyed looking around this car, and I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. So write down, what do you think about these cars? What would you have instead? Maybe you own one of these cars or own something similar. How's it been for you? Let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. And remember, you can follow me on social media as well, @DanielCarzo5. And I'll leave a link in the description to Juan's digital illustration work. Check it out, because it is incredible. And really appreciated him letting me have a look around this car. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed this video of Daniel Drives. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon. One take. Nice. Love that. Whoa. Nice. I love the interior. That's probably my favourite bit about these older Audis.